I know what you're thinking. So what caused my leaky gut anyways? That's all coming up today. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah K. Hoffman, aka a Gutsy Girl. And we are doing an entire series all around leaky gut and what it is, how we get it, and how we heal from it. And today I want to share with you some of the ways that it is thought leaky gut comes about. Once again, everyone is different, but these are some of the most common ways that we get a leaky gut. Number one, alcohol. I know. Just like you, this is not one that I ever wanted to hear, but it is true. Alcohol is definitely thought to be a top cause of a leaky gut. The reason is that alcohol promotes an overgrowth of bacteria, which in turn leads to an increase in the release of endotoxins. Endotoxins activate proteins and immune cells that promote inflammation. One thing that you will hear over and over again is the term inflammation. Inflammation is the reason for all of our problems, in my opinion. And I think it's very evident, very clear by the research that has been done and how many times the word inflammation is used in conjunction with different diseases and or syndromes such as leaky gut syndrome. Number two, certain painkillers and NSAIDs, which stands for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These would be your things like Tylenol, ibuprofen, etc. The job of an NSAID is to relieve inflammation, which it does by blocking an enzyme called cycloogenase. Okay, let's be honest. I don't know if I'm actually pronouncing that correctly, but the way that you spell the word is CYCLOOXGENASE. This is the enzyme that is blocked. However, when this enzyme is blocked, it is not able to perform important functions like protecting the stomach from its own acid and strengthening the activity of the immune system. And did you know that among people who chronically use NSAID, research indicates that up to 65% will develop intestinal inflammation and up to 30% will develop ulcers. And eventually these can all lead to autoimmune diseases. The third common cause of a leaky gut are good old antibiotics. And I always am a little bit hesitant to talk about this one because I know that antibiotics are life-saving and also life-changing. But the research is all there, and for me to not have put this in my book, nor for me to talk about it on a video like this as it relates to leaky gut would be doing you a huge disservice. Antibiotics are definitely a cause of leaky gut. The reason? Well, it's very, very obvious. Antibiotics' job is to wipe out all bacteria, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the extra supreme. But what happens when the antibiotic that is wiping out the thing that you don't want also wipes out all the things that we do want? That's right. It completely wipes out the things that are helping keep our microbiome strong, thus making it less likely to develop something like leaky gut syndrome. Another cause are pre-existing conditions. Researchers really don't know yet which came first, the pre-existing condition or the leaky gut syndrome, but what we do know for sure is that almost always they occur simultaneously and they go hand in hand. Processed foods are another very common cause of leaky gut syndrome. This, yet again, goes back to that word inflammation, and it is because many processed foods, or maybe most, if not all processed foods, are highly inflammatory, containing ingredients that the body is unaware of and unable to effectively break down to avoid that leaky gut scenario. Chronic stress. Are you always stressed? It is another leading indicator of leaky gut syndrome because it weakens the immune system. And when that happens, yet again, we see that gut immune connection, and therefore chronic stress is definitely one of the causes of leaky gut syndrome. Toxins are another cause of leaky gut syndrome, and one can argue that toxins are everywhere, and one can also argue that that would be correct. Toxins can be found in our food, air, water, our home, like mold, and even in our clothing. We can never completely avoid toxins. The goal is to reduce our exposure to them as much as possible. And there are so many different ways and things that we can do on a daily basis in order to achieve this. Grains and gluten are another common cause of leaky gut. This is because of a few different reasons. One would be anti-nutrient status. Many think that because they contain lectins, which are anti-nutrients, and phytates, they bind to the intestines and cause all sorts of havoc. But furthermore, many grains and gluten, if not most, especially if they are here in the United States, do contain GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and high levels of things like pesticides. Another one is too clean of an environment. This one is always super confusing when I share it with people because they don't understand how can an environment be too clean, especially after I just talked about toxins. What this means is that we have become obsessed with making sure that everything is clean. And so in order to achieve this, we use antibacterial soaps and sanitizers. And what this does is, like the antibiotics, it is also wiping away all of the good bacteria. We definitely need both good and bacteria in order to be able to contribute to a strong immune system. And when we are constantly cleaning everything, wiping everything down with all the antibacterial things, it is doing our gut microbiome no good. And last but certainly not least, one of the causes of leaky gut syndrome would be a genetic predisposition. I guess the genetic predisposition would be like most things, but some people are predisposed to leaky gut because they are sensitive to environmental factors that can trigger the body into initiating an autoimmune response. So there you have it, several different causes for leaky gut syndrome. I encourage you to listen to these again, write down the ones that you think may have been causing your own leaky gut syndrome, or the ones you think you might be overdoing that could ultimately contribute to leaky gut syndrome. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Be sure to subscribe to the Gutsy Girl YouTube channel, and I will see you again soon for more on leaky gut syndrome.